Once upon a time, in a grand palace surrounded by lush gardens and tall walls, there lived a wealthy man named Rajan. He was known throughout the land for his immense riches. His palace was filled with glittering treasures, silk carpets, and golden ornaments. However, despite all his wealth, Rajan often felt empty inside. He believed that happiness came from possessing beautiful things, and so he surrounded himself with gold and jewels, hoping they would fill the void in his heart. One day, while walking through the bustling market, Rajan came across a magnificent bird in a small wooden cage. The bird had dazzling feathers, bright shades of blue, green, and gold that shimmered under the sun. Its sweet melody filled the air, capturing the attention of everyone nearby. Rajan was enchanted by the bird's beauty and melody. He thought to himself, "If I take this bird home and keep it in the finest golden cage, it will surely bring me happiness." Without hesitation, he bought the bird from the merchant for a large sum of gold and hurried back to his palace. At home, Rajan ordered his servants to prepare the finest golden cage encrusted with diamonds and pearls. The cage was placed in the grand hall where he could admire the bird whenever he pleased. He provided the bird with the best food, fresh water in a silver bowl, and soft cushions to rest upon. "You must be the happiest bird in the world now," Rajan said with pride. "You have everything you could ever want." However, as the days passed, something strange happened. The bird, once so full of life and song, grew silent. It no longer sang its beautiful melodies, nor did it flutter its wings with joy. Instead, it sat quietly on its perch, gazing longingly at the open sky beyond the palace walls. Rajan was confused. "Why do you not sing anymore?" he asked the bird. "I have given you everything: gold, comfort, and safety." The bird, though unable to speak, looked at Rajan with sorrow in its eyes. It hopped toward the bars of the cage and tapped them lightly with its beak, as if to say, "I miss my freedom." But Rajan did not understand. "Perhaps you need more luxury," he thought. He ordered his servants to decorate the cage with even more jewels and place it in the garden where the bird could see the flowers and hear the fountain's gentle music. But the bird remained silent, staring longingly at the wide blue sky. One evening, Rajan hosted a grand feast at his palace. Musicians played, dancers twirled, and guests admired his vast wealth. Amidst the celebration, an old sage arrived, dressed in simple robes. He observed the golden cage and the silent bird within it. "Rajan," the sage said, "why does your bird not sing?" Rajan sighed. "I do not understand, wise one. I have given it the finest cage, the best food, and endless comfort, yet it remains silent." The sage smiled gently and said, "Tell me, Rajan, if you were locked in a palace filled with gold but forbidden to step outside, would you be happy?" Rajan was taken aback. He thought about it and realized that even with all his riches, if he could not walk freely in the gardens or feel the wind on his face, he would feel trapped and miserable. "You see," the sage continued, "true happiness does not come from wealth or luxury, but from freedom. The bird was meant to soar high in the sky, not to be confined in a cage, no matter how beautiful it may be." Rajan was silent for a long moment. Then he looked at the bird and saw, truly for the first time, the sadness in its eyes. With a deep breath, he stood up and opened the cage door. The bird hesitated for a moment, unsure of what to do. Then, with a joyful chirp, it spread its wings and flew out into the open sky. Rajan watched as it soared higher and higher, its colorful feathers glinting in the sunlight. For the first time, he saw the bird truly happy. As the bird disappeared into the horizon, Rajan felt something unexpected: relief. A strange sense of peace filled his heart, something his gold and treasures had never given him. He turned to the sage and said, "You were right, wise one. Happiness cannot be bought. It must be felt from within." From that day on, Rajan changed. He no longer obsessed over collecting riches, but instead found joy in simple things, watching the sunset, listening to the laughter of children, and helping those in need. One morning, as he sat in his garden, he heard a familiar melody. Looking up, he saw the same bird sitting on a tree branch, singing the most beautiful song he had ever heard. It had returned, not out of obligation, but out of choice. Rajan smiled and whispered, "True happiness comes from freedom, not possessions." And from that day forward, he lived not as a man bound by wealth, but as someone who had learned the true meaning of joy. Moral of the story: true happiness comes from freedom, not possessions.